I'm Elna. Welcome to another episode of Sorry, I'm British. Today we're doing something a little bit different and I'll be answering 8 common questions Chinese people ask us Brits, which we might think are a little bit funny. For example, have you met the Queen? Nope. While the Queen carries out many public engagements such as opening schools, visiting hospitals, making speeches, most of us haven't actually met her. It would have to be a very special occasion for any normal member of the public to get the opportunity to actually meet face to face with the Queen. People who receive honours such as a knighthood will often meet the Queen, as she or another member of the royal family will personally award recipients in a ceremony at Buckingham Palace. So really, apart from that and some other rare occasions, there isn't really much chance for most of us to meet the Queen. If there was, she'd be a very busy woman. Next, do you like tea? Yes, British people generally do love tea. The most popular type of tea here is red tea, which we call black tea or English breakfast. We almost always drink it with milk. In fact, most tea drinkers are very particular about how they like their tea, with the amount of milk being crucial. Which football team do you support? Newcastle United, because that's where I'm from. But actually, I barely ever actually watch football. Football is very popular in Britain, but there are over 5,000 football clubs across England. So we don't always have a specific team that each of us support, and loads of us don't like football at all. Therefore, most people just choose the team from their hometown to support, even if they don't follow closely. Next, do you really speak with a British accent? Of course, I just speak with a northern accent because I'm from the northeast. Even then, my accent isn't very strong. Britain actually has many different regional accents, with about 56 main ones across the country, but probably a lot more in reality. For example, even places that are very geographically close, such as Manchester and Liverpool, can have completely different accents. The Queen speaks received pronunciation, which is a very standard type of English that holds a lot of prestige. Even though it's generally considered to be the British accent, in reality, only very wealthy people will speak with this accent.
Can you get some towels for me, please? I'm really losing a lot of blood.
You sound like you're from London. Yeah, I'm from London.
Why is your food so bad? Excuse me, that's your opinion. We love our food. Sunday roast, cooked breakfast and fish and chips are probably the most British dishes and they're well loved across the country. Although, to be honest, food maybe isn't traditionally our best skill. That's why we also love food from around the world, with Indian, Chinese and Italian being our favourite foreign foods. Is it always foggy in London? Nope, in fact it hardly ever is. While air pollution isn't great in London, generally we don't get that much smog or fog and it's very rarely visible. Although in the 19th and 20th centuries we did have a big problem with smog caused by pollution. That's why you may have heard of London. The last time we had really bad air pollution was the Great Smog of 1952, where sadly over 4,000 people died in just 4 days. In the 19th century, we had these days which we called pea soupers because the air was thick, just like British pea soup, and it was very hard to see anything. Now it's much more likely to rain here, although on average London is one of the driest places in the UK, and the average rainfall is pretty similar to Beijing. Are British men gentlemen? No. Next. Just kidding. This cliché comes from our history of nobility and gentry, with upper class men often being called gentlemen, and this idea has been carried forward through books and TV programmes like Pride and Prejudice and Downton Abbey. In reality, there are many types of British men. Some are very gentlemanly, but some aren't gentle at all. I'm sure British men are quite flattered by this question though. Can you use chopsticks? Of course! The first recorded use of the English word chopsticks in Britain was in 1699, and due to Chinese seamen and dock workers, London and Liverpool have had Chinese eating houses since the 1880s, so we've had plenty of time to practice our chopstick skills. However, not all of us can use them, and many people actually prefer to use a knife and fork, even when they're eating Chinese food, because they find chopsticks just too difficult to use. It depends on how much you're used to them really, but most of us can and do use chopsticks at home and in restaurants. Aren't you married yet? No, I'm only 24, and in England being married at 24 would be considered pretty young. The average age here for men to get married today is 32, while for women it's 30. Cohabiting before marriage is very common in Britain. In fact, it's very common for couples to live together, have children and spend the rest of their lives in a relationship without ever marrying. However, in the past things were definitely different, with lots of couples marrying in their teens, having children much younger, whereas back then having a child out of wedlock would be very uncommon. My parents would probably hate me to marry so young, because in our culture we usually think that we have the rest of our life to decide, I think less people feel the need to marry at a young age, or ever. Although to you that might seem strange, it's just what we're used to and I'm in no rush. That's it for me today. Hopefully you know a little bit more about us Brits now. And if you have any questions about Brits, you can always leave a comment below. If you want to know more about Britain, please like and subscribe. See you next time.
Cut!